I'll put your knowledge against anybody I've ever met talking about this kind of stuff. So.
Good morning, I'm Tricia Bear, the host of Guardians of Service, and this morning we're talking to Brian Bailey from the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 539 out of Henryetta. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, how are you doing?
What kind of background do you have in the military?
I did 20 years, 1 month, and 5 days in the Air Force. I had 2 different AFSCs. I was a ICBM mechanic, the big missiles. And then helicopters, a crew chief, kind of specialized in the Black Hawk, but I wound up touching all of them. So.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit today about the VFW essay competitions, the Vets for Pets competition, and then we're going to go over the VA benefit process on how I help veterans get their VA benefits.
Okay, so let's start off with, you were talking about the Vets for Pets. Tell the folks a little bit about that.
Yes, on the Vets for Pets, we started that group with the Okmulgee Vets for Pets. Our mission here is to basically help pets any way we can, whether it be find the lost dog or find animals that need a home. That's our mission. So August 30th, there's a car show in Henryetta on Main Street, and the contest itself starts at 12:30, but you can register from 11:30 to 12:30. It doesn't cost anything to register for the costume contest. And first prize is going to be $100, second prize is $50, and third prize is $25. In addition to that, we're going to give away Morris Crocker Vet is going to give away a year's supply of Bravecto, the flea and tick prevention medicine, as well as a free pet exam. And then the other item we're going to give away is the Love for Dog Grooming out of Henryetta on Main Street. They're going to give away a free day pet spa to whatever pet you want to treat that day. So anybody that signs up for that costume contest, all they need to do is sign up to get a free raffle ticket. So if you have one pet, you get one raffle ticket, and if you have more than that, you get a raffle ticket per pet. So you have at least 5 chances to win a prize that day, and that's at 12:30 at the briefcase, and it will be inside the briefcase is where you're going to register and actually have the contest.
While you're up there at the briefcase doing this, the Vets for Pets things, there's also, you're going to have information about the essay, the VFW essays?
Yes. Yeah. So currently the VFW Post 539 has an essay competition, and there's two parts of the competition. The first one is Voice of Democracy, which is for 9th through 12th graders. And then the other competition is Patriot Pen, and that is for 6th through 8th graders. So on the Voice of Democracy, they can actually win up to $35,000 college scholarship. That's for first place at the national level. But we give away prizes at each level. So Post 539 is our local town level. And then we have District 7 level, which is 5 towns in this area. And then we have the state level. And then you get to the national level. So you can actually win prizes or cash for your essay 4 different levels in the VFW. The deadline for both competitions is October 31st of this year. So if you're interested and it has to be a student in school, or you can be homeschool. You don't have to be in a school. So you can be homeschool and still apply for these competitions. Now for the Patriot Pen award, they'll give up to $5,000 for their award for the Patriot Pen, and that is 6th through 8th graders. The Voice of Democracy is an audio essay, so you're just going to record yourself reading your essay, and then the Patriot Pen is just a typed essay, so you don't have to do a recording of the Patriot Pen. But like I said, there's 4 different levels you can win money on. We had a kid a couple years ago in Oklahoma that won 4th or 5th place at the national level. He still got $4,000 or $5,000 for his essay. So it's just basically 300 to 400 words, about a half a page typed essay to enter this competition. So if you're interested in doing that, you can call me at 479-414 0952, and I'd be glad to send you the application and the instructions. Do follow the instructions specifically, because if it says 300 or 400 words, you don't want to do 500 words or less than that, because they do go by that. So follow the instructions and you'll be good to go. And please enter, because there's lots of chances to win money.
Okay, to some of the questions that people are definitely going to want answers to and information for. What's included in the first appointment to help vets with their disability claims?
Okay, so I'm a VFW and DAV veteran in Henryetta. So what I do is I help veterans fill out the paperwork for any type of VA disability or benefit claim. So whether it's a spouse that has a husband pass away that needs to apply for DIC, which is dependent indemnity compensation, I help them fill out the paperwork for that. I also help veterans do their VA disability paperwork. So there's all kinds of different paperwork, but the first appointment that I have with them, I do the letter of intent and the appointment of service officer. The letter of intent, the reason I do that right off the bat is because that would get that veteran paid sooner if they were awarded a higher percentage on their VA disability. And then I also do an appointment of service officer, which I work for the DAV when it comes to doing paperwork for veterans. So that will get them back paid to the date the DAV receives that letter of intent. And because usually I'm booked up a month out, I try to do that first. And then I have the second appointment with them, which is where I'll do the VA claim paperwork. And so part of the VA claim paperwork is going to be your VA application, any statements that we need to put in there that's not on the VA application, so I can explain you worked around aircraft or you worked around machine guns if you have a hearing loss issue. Then we'll do the dependent form. If they're 30% or more disabled, the veteran, then you get more money for their dependents. So it could be anywhere between $150 to $200 a month for the spouse, and then I think the first kid is $132 a month, and then each additional kid is about $60 to $70 a month. But you do have to be 30% or more disabled in order to get the dependent money.
Okay, so you've got a first appointment, you got a second appointment, and then something we worked on together was the secondary disability conditions?
Yes. So once you're awarded a primary VA disability for the VA, then you can come back and file an additional claim for any secondary conditions to that primary disability. So usually you do have to have a primary percentage for a disability, and then you can come back and award secondary conditions that the primary disability caused while you were in the military. So I'll give you an example. If you have tinnitus, which is the ringing in the ears, you can file a claim for that, and then if you're awarded the 10%, because that's what they pay now for that, up to 10%, they're eventually going to put that up under the hearing loss percentage, but right now they're separate. So what you can do is file any secondary conditions to tinnitus. In other words, that tinnitus caused those secondary conditions, like sleep apnea is one of them. If you didn't go get a sleep study when you were in the military and then you get out years later and you find out you have sleep apnea, if that primary percentage caused sleep apnea, then you can put in for that to try to get a percentage. I've had several soldiers get that, and it's 50% right now for sleep apnea secondary, or even if you had it when you were in, you could get it. Had the sleep study when you were in, you can file it right off the bat. But if you didn't have the condition when you were in, you do have to do a secondary condition, which requires a nexus letter and a DBQ, which is a disability benefit questionnaire. So the nexus letter is basically, it has to be done by a doctor, and they'll write the letter saying that this primary disability caused these secondary conditions. And they have all kinds of research studies cited in their nexus letter.
As likely to have
Yeah,
caused.
it's
Yes.
as least as likely as
Yeah.
to cause the secondary condition. It's not 100% guaranteed that you'll get awarded that secondary condition, but if you do have a secondary condition, that's really the one of the requirements, that you do the nexus letter with the doctor and a disability questionnaire with the doctor. They do charge a certain amount for that, because I'm not a doctor, I can't do that for free, but everything else as far as paperwork goes, I'll do for free for the veteran. It doesn't cost them anything at all. So depending on what the condition is, if it was just hearing loss, you can do that for $150 just by calling Oklahoma City doctors. You can use your own doctor if they're willing to do that. A lot of doctors don't want to do the nexus letter and disability questionnaire because it takes time to do. So, but if your doctor doesn't want to do that, you can pay to get that done through some resources we have in Oklahoma City to get that done. Helen Boyd is another doctor we use down there in Oklahoma City, and she covers everything except for mental health issues and the hearing loss. And she does it for $200, the nexus letter and the disability questionnaire. And if it's not something you have to be measured for, like bending over on your back or whatever, you can do it all over the phone. She takes Cash App, Venmo, other resources to pay her with. So that's the main one that we use. But like I said, if you have a doctor that's local that can do it for you, let your doctor do it if they will.
So you filed a claim and it comes back and it says 0. Does that mean you've been denied?
No, a lot of veterans are confused on that, but the 0% is actually half the battle of getting a condition rated as service-connected. 0% is not a denial. 0% is saying they acknowledge that you have a service-connected disability, but your symptoms aren't worse enough to warrant payment for that. However, down the road, you can ask for an increase to that 0% and possibly get awarded some kind of monetary amount for that condition. So it is not a denial. It's just basically doing another VA claim and asking for an increase on that 0%. And a lot of times the symptoms aren't noted in the doctor's records, so you just have to report your symptoms to the doctor in order to get those documented on whatever condition, whatever symptoms you have for that condition.
Okay. Lately on the news, there's been several commercials talking about the PACT Act. Will you explain a little bit about that one?
Yeah, the PACT Act is basically a new law that came out in August of 2022. And it's basically lists of conditions that the war zone, or it could be on the civilians in the United States, that cause those conditions, like contaminated water at Camp Lejeune. And it's by war zone. So Vietnam has a certain list of conditions, and then Iraq has a certain list of conditions. The Vietnam, the two main ones I see is diabetes, hypertension, monoclonal gamethy, which is basically too much protein in your blood. So those are just 3 of those conditions. And you can find out more information on the PACT Act on my website, which is www.theamericansoldier.org. And then you can also go to va.gov to find out more information about what are those conditions listed on the PACT Act.
At the end, when we wrap up, I'm going to ask for your contact info. So make sure everybody has that information.
All right.
Another thing I like to ask is, will the VA pay for a walk-in shower for a veteran with disabilities, physical disabilities?
Yes. You do have to get a consult through your primary care doctor through prosthetics. And then once prosthetics is contacted, they'll send you a packet, which is a HISA grant packet. You'll complete that packet, and I think part of the packet is doing a quote from a vendor or whoever does the walk-in showers. You'll get an estimate from them, and you'll submit your packet to prosthetics, and then at that time they'll decide if it's approved or not. Now, if you're a veteran that has 50% VA disability, they'll pay up to $2,000 for that work to be done. But if you're 100% disabled, permanent and totally disabled, then they'll pay up to $6,800 to have a walk-in shower replace your bathtub. You do have to have a bathtub there that needs replaced. You will have to show pictures of the bathtub. So they'll pay up to $6,800. I think I had mine done and it was probably like $7,800. So it won't pay all of it, just depending on who you choose. You get to choose whatever contractor you want to do the work. But normally they'll pay $6,800 if you're 100% disabled.
And I've seen the packet. It has measurements and then the black and white photos of the area and stuff of that nature. So the packet's pretty detailed and pretty clear to figure out how to fill out and get turned back in.
Yeah.
Same thing with a ramp with your house?
Yes. You can also get a ramp put on your house. So on that, you do request that through your primary care manager to prosthetics again, requesting the application packet. The difference in that and getting a walk-in shower is that if you're approved for the ramp, and it's about a 20-foot ramp depending on how many steps you have because they'll gradually go down. You'll do a consult through your primary care manager, and then they'll actually pay for the contractor to come out to your house if it's approved to put on that ramp. So I think the VA right now, or not the VA, the VFW has a ramp that someone donated. So if you are needing a ramp, let us know because we do have, I think, one ramp to give out. We do have medical equipment also that we give out at the VFW there in Henryetta. We have shower chairs, we have wheelchairs, we have beds. We have quite a bit of medical equipment. So if you need any medical equipment, you don't have to be a veteran. You can be a civilian and still request that medical equipment because we're here to help the community, not just the veterans, but the community itself.
What is dependent indemnity compensation?
Okay. So dependent indemnity compensation, which we call DIC, is basically the compensation or pension. It's the compensation that dependents can apply for if their veteran passes away. Which is you have to die, the veteran has to die of a service-connected disability, and it has to be on their death certificate. Now, if you're not a combat veteran, you have to be 100% VA disabled for 10 years. You have to die of a service-connected disability, and it has to be on your death certificate. However, if you are a combat veteran, the rules are different for them. So they don't have to be 100% disabled for 10 years. They do have to die of a service-connected disability, and it has to be on their death certificate. But if that veteran never went to the VA and never got any VA disability whatsoever, as long as that disability that they die of, or the condition that they die of, is on the PACT Act, then that makes them eligible. So if you never even applied for a VA disability, but that veteran died of a condition that's on the PACT Act, that makes your spouse eligible for DIC. And it's about $16.28 a month, but then it also opens up other benefits for your spouse, like Champ VA health insurance that they can get for free, unless you're retired military like me and Brian are. We have TRICARE for our spouses, so then your spouse couldn't get Champ VA. But if you're not retired military and you pass away, your spouse, if they're eligible for DIC, can also get Champ VA health insurance. And then they also get, what was the other thing? Oh, aid in attendance. And that's just additional money. I think it's $300 to $400 a month if they need assistance. The aid in attendance is for the veteran themselves or the surviving spouse. They don't approve aid in attendance for the spouse unless the veteran has passed away.
Okay.
Then that's for the surviving spouse. But there's a way that you can earn up to $2,000 a month if your veteran passes away, dies of a service-connected disability, and the catch is it has to be on their death certificate. Even if it's not the primary cause of death, if it's the secondary cause of death, there's block 35 on the death certificate where it's contributing factors. Make sure that those VA disability conditions are on the contributing factor block 35 on your death certificate. If it is not, you get the death certificate, they didn't put those on there, you can contact the state medical examiner's office and have that added. You can have that amended because it has to be on your death certificate, on that veteran's death certificate, for you to be eligible for DIC.
Okay. Speaking of spouses, can a spouse get medical prescription expenses paid back when you become 100% disabled veteran?
For when the spouse applies for DIC and they're eligible for DIC?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I did have another World War II veteran that was 100% permanent and total for 14 years. He was 100% permanent total for 14 years. And I met him at the Feed the Vets program, which our next one, by the way, is September 4th.
September 4th.
Yep, at 11 o'clock at the New Life Church in Henryetta. So if you're a veteran or a dependent you can come over there, or you need to call me first and let me know so I can add you to our list to make sure we have enough food. We give out free food every 90 days to veterans or their dependents. So that will be at 11 o'clock on September 4th, which is a Thursday at New Life Church in Henryetta.
That one's coming up, September 4th?
Yeah, September 4th. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
Yeah, and again, I'll ask you about your contact information at the end to make sure they have your number and how to get a hold of you.
Okay, and I kind of got sidetracked there. I apologize. What I was talking about was the DIC and the CHAMP VA. So I had a veteran that was at the Feed the Vets, and he said, "How can you help me save $250 a month for my wife's eye drops?" Because that's what it was costing him.
Oof.
I think they were both in their 90s, and so I just said, "I'm not sure. Let me research it." So what I found out by contacting CHAMP VA Health Insurance, that even though he was 100% disabled 10 years or 14 years ago, we can request back pay for all the medical expenses and prescription expenses that they paid over that 16-year period.
Holy man.
And she actually got, and this was just the prescription part that she got back because I requested the medical codes for her a couple times, and you have to have the medical codes for whatever procedure you're paying for. So we only ended up getting the prescription codes back from her current insurance company, and she was given back $20,000 in back pay for that 16-year period that they didn't know that she was eligible for CHAMP VA. Mm-hmm. So I signed her up for CHAMP VA. She got $20,000 in back pay, no longer had to pay for the $250 eye drops, and then no longer had to pay for that additional insurance that they were paying that they didn't need, because she was eligible for CHAMP VA insurance 16 years ago.
Wow.
Or
Well,
14,
good
14.
deal. Good deal.
Yeah,
and
so-
good on you for helping them out. That's awesome. Speaking of money, going to a VA appointment, or whether it's at a VA facility or a civilian, like a care in the community kind of thing, you get paid for that?
Yep, you sure do. You get paid for going to the VA appointment, or if they refer you out through the community care program. And that's if the VA's booked up a couple months, they'll refer you out to the community care program so you don't have to wait as long for your appointment. Mm-hmm. But they do pay you mileage for both of those. You just have to provide a letter when you go to the civilian doctor that they referred you to through community care, and then you'll do a travel voucher there at the VA when you go to the doctor. Usually they'll fill it out for you, or you can fill out yourself. They do have it online to fill out.
Every clinic I've gone to, whether it's a primary or a specialty, has the form there with the pens, and a lot of them have a template to make sure you fill out the form completely. So it's really easy. It's right there in front of every office to fill out. And again, I went to the dental clinic the other day. They've got the template so you don't miss any boxes and get called to the principal's office for not filling out the form right. So, but you fill out the form, turn it in. Every appointment, whether it's, I went to one in Walika and they paid me for that one. I think that one was like $26 or $28, but they do pay you for each visit.
Yeah, and it just depends on how booked up they are. It may take a couple months to get your money, but you'll still get paid to go. So like from Henryetta to Muskogee is about $40 for a VA doctor visit that they'll reimburse you. So they'll pay you for your gas to drive down there.
I think there's a box on there for tolls.
Yeah, there, if you have tolls, you can include that also with your receipt.
Talking about that and with the other things that happen with that one, you have a list of websites to help veterans with how to research and what's available and what they can access?
Yes, and again, on the mileage, I meant to tell you too, they got to be 30% VA disabled in order to get that mileage
30%?
check.
Okay.
Yeah, or
Okay.
usually they'll do a direct deposit into your account for that. But you do have to have 30% VA disability for the mileage and to add your dependents to get paid for your dependents. So I meant to mention that.
Now we were talking about, with all this information, which is a lot of information that you possess, you got websites people can go to?
Yes. So there's several websites. You can go to www.va.gov. You can type in PACT Act or DIC, and that will give you a lot of information on what the criteria is for whatever benefit you're trying to apply for. I also have a website called www.theamericansoldier.org, where you can go on there and get information on the PACT Act, Title 38. Title 38 is one of those regulations that governs the conditions you can claim as VA disability. So it's 34 pages long. So I would suggest you go there and look at Title 38, because you don't know what conditions you can claim unless you've read Title 38. And if you're a combat veteran, you need to look at the PACT Act so you know what conditions are presumed to come from that war zone. So that's two of the resources that are on my website. And then I do go to VAClaimsinsider.com. I use that website for research only. That's researching secondary conditions or primary conditions that cause the secondary conditions. Do not pay them anything because you're just using their database, their information. We don't charge you anything at the VFW or the DAV. The DAV is where I do the paperwork for the veterans on VA disability benefits. So it doesn't cost you anything. Don't hire an attorney to do your VA benefits if you have service officers like myself that do it for free. There's no reason to pay anybody to do it when you have service officers that volunteer like myself and Brian. Brian helps our VFW, so there's no reason to pay an attorney to do your paperwork.
And you get the benefits of someone that actually knows the ins and outs. That's you. You know, you've been doing this long enough that you know all the pieces, like the secondary stuff. You have a list of some of the primary things that can cause secondary and stuff. You've been doing this and been through all the training.
Yeah, I've been doing this for about 6 years. I started out with the VFW doing the paperwork. Now I do it for the DAV, but everything else I help on the VFW side, like Feed the Vets, the Vets for Pets contest.
Essays.
All essays, art. We have an art contest that's next March, which I'll cover later in the year.
Okay. Speaking of benefits, and I know there's a lot of information in your head there, but rattle off some of the 100% benefits for a disabled person, veteran.
So the reason I try to help veterans get to 100% VA disabled, because there are several benefits that also give them extra money. So for example, if you're 100% disabled, permanent and total, and I have to add permanent and total because you could be 100% VA disabled but not be permanent and total. And that depends on your condition. So for like me, I'm 100% VA disabled, permanent total, because I have neuropathy in my left leg. So it depends on what conditions you have as to whether you're going to be permanent and total. But one of the benefits are you're property tax exempt. If that property is in your name and you're 100% VA disabled, permanent and total, you don't pay any property tax, which is several $100s a year depending on how much property you own. You also are tax exempt on up to $25,000 a year in purchases, where you don't pay any taxes on up to $25,000 of things you buy every year. You don't pay any taxes on that. You also get, and I think you get this if you're less than 100%, but you get a card that you take down to DAV to register your car, and it helps you every year not have to pay as much.
That's at 70%. Is
that 70? Okay, so that's 70% for the card that helps reduce your tags when you go get your tags renewed every year. Also, one of the big benefits I feel like that veterans need is that it makes that veteran eligible for the education program. So in other words, I think it's called DHEA now, but they will pay for your education, your spouse's education, and your kids' education up until their age, I think 23. So just having that college benefit is huge, because they'll pay for your education, the veteran's education, or the veteran, the spouse, and the kids' education. And that's a huge amount of money.
I think it's listed under a few different things as well, because of in the education stuff is retraining. I see that one quite a bit, because if you you get rated at 100% disabled, you may not be able to physically do what you did before, what you trained in, so they'll retrain you into another career that, I don't want to say fits your disability, but compensates for what you used to be able to do that you can't do anymore. So physically.
And so on the veteran themselves, the program is limited on certain programs. So like I wanted to be a chef and teach what I learned, because I can work at my pace, being 100% VA disabled. So the chef is not one of the programs they cover, but there are other programs that they cover. And so I ended up using my GI Bill instead of the DHEA program to pay for my education.
Okay, okay. In the disability kind of category and the retraining and stuff, I think I already heard you say something about employable and unemployable.
Yes, so there is a program within the VA, and you can go to va.gov to find out more information on that, but it's called VA unemployability. So one of the criteria for that is that you have to be at least 70% VA disabled. You have to have one condition that's 60% rated as 60%, or two conditions with one of those two conditions rated at 40%. So you do have to meet those three criteria, and then you can do an application to apply for unemployability. Now your employer, there is a form for them to fill out as well for unemployability. So basically what that would mean is if you were approved for unemployability because you can't work because of your VA disability conditions, then you would actually get paid for 70% over 100. You'll still get all the benefits I just mentioned as far as the tax benefits, the property tax. One I failed to mention a minute ago is you'll get, if you are 100% VA disabled, you'll get free $10,000 in life insurance as long as you apply within 2 years of being rated for that new condition. So it's free if you're 100% permanent total disabled, and it's $10,000. But you do got to sign up within that 2 years, or you are not eligible for that program, which happened to me. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm educating veterans on their benefits.
So we were talking about the 100% disabled and some of the things you can get with it and the different percentages leading up to that one. But there's also a temporary disability rating you can get.
Yes, so if you have a VA disability for a condition and say you have to have surgery on it, on your back or hands, whatever, if you have to have surgery, you can apply for temporary disability, VA disability. And what that does is that they'll pay you for 100% VA disability, which is $4,044 a month, while you're trying to recover from whatever that surgery is that you had for that service-connected disability.
Yep.
So if you have surgery and you're getting paid for 60 or 70% or whatever, it's not 100, you need to call me so we can put in for temporary disability so you get paid for 100% for however long it takes you to recover from that surgery, because that condition was service-connected.
Yeah, it takes time to get the appointment for the surgery or to get the condition corrected, and then there's a recovery time and stuff, and all the while you're losing money if you can't work.
Yeah, you're losing money if you can't work, and you can get paid for 100% during that time. It's temporarily, depending on how long it takes you to recover, but it's a huge benefit that some people aren't aware of.
And sometimes those could lead to a permanent disability.
Right.
Depending on the conditions.
Yeah, depending on the extent of the condition, if it gets better or not.
Speaking of other programs and stuff, there's a couple other questions here I have, but let's start with can you explain the caregiver program?
Yes. Okay, so the caregiver program is a program within the VA designed to help the veteran. So if a veteran is disabled and they need certain living condition care, like feeding, bathing, walking, there's several conditions that if they need assistance doing those items, the spouse, whoever they designated as their caregiver, it could be the spouse that's doing that care anyway, sign up for the caregiver assistance program, and it has two different tier levels. So one's $1,700 a month, one's $2,700 a month, depending on the level of care that you need. That the spouse or even a friend or whoever you designate to be your caregiver, they have primary and secondary, they would get paid either $1,700 a month or $2,700 a month to be your caregiver. So they're probably already taking care of you anyway if you're a spouse. And so I would highly recommend to apply for the caregiver program.
And that's just one program. There's other programs, other agencies that help out in and around the home.
Yes. So if you go to the VA doctor for your health care, you can ask your VA healthcare doctor to approve a certain amount of hours for you to get assistance through either Visiting Angels, Cornerstone Caregiving. There's different agencies that the VA will pay for to come out and help you at home. whether it be doing the dishes, going to get your prescriptions, taking you to the doctor, getting your groceries, whatever the case is of what assistance you need, your doctor will allow a certain amount of hours to be paid for by the VA for someone to come to your house and take care of those issues that you need help with. And it could be even you just want somebody to come and visit you and talk to you. They'll do whatever you want. So if you need any help whatsoever, you do have to be enrolled in the VA. The VA doctor will allow so many hours for whatever agency you choose to come out and help you with your life chores or whatever things you need done.
Okay. Accrued benefits?
Yes. So what accrued benefits is, and this actually happened to one of my veterans' kids. He had passed away the day before his daughter got the 100% VA disability letter in the mail. So it was literally the day before. But when you apply for a VA disability, it goes back to first the letter of intent, whenever you first apply that you are going to file a VA claim application. Or if you don't do the letter of intent, it goes back to the day you do that VA claim application and the DAV and the VA receives it. So, or whoever your appointed service officer is. So he had got 100%, he died, and the daughter thought, well, then there is no benefits. Well, there is. It's called accrued benefits. You can go back, the family can go back and request whatever amount he was allowed. So say, for example, he went from 90% to 100% VA disability. That's another $1,200 a month. So we're talking about $4,000 a month is what you get paid for 100% permanent and totally disabled. So she went back and we did an accrued benefit for whatever he went from 90 to 100, and she got all of that back pay from when he first applied or the date he did that letter of intent. So even though that veteran passes away, the family is still allowed to apply through accrued benefits, apply for that compensation that is owed to that veteran. Even though he passed away, it's still allowed to be given to the family.
So you have provided a lot of information here in the last couple of minutes. Would you tell everybody your contact information?
Yes. So my contact information is 479-414-0952. And you can also reach me on email at ladymarine100@yahoo.com. And the best way to reach me is honestly through texting me, because I get inundated with email. So I would text me at that phone number and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I'm also a chef. We do a culinary command post show here every Sunday at 2 o'clock. We teach a different food, a different recipe every Sunday at 2 o'clock. So if you will text me, I will get back to you and try to get you your answer to your question.
I would encourage people to get a hold of you. Not that I'm volunteering you to answer a bunch of questions, but I was unaware of quite a few things until I talked with you. And there's a lot more information out there than people are aware of, and you can go online and start rattling and going through all this stuff. There's a lot of sponsored stuff that is not applicable, but there's a lot of information, and I know you do this on a regular basis, and I'll put your knowledge against anybody I've ever met talking about this kind of stuff. So,
yeah, thank you.
Last thing I wanted to ask you about was the mission of the Guardians of Service program.
Okay, so our mission of the Guardian of Service program is basically to help veterans educate veterans on their VA benefits and the process and all the information that we just put out today, so that you are aware of your benefits and how to apply for them. And like I said, I help you do the paperwork for free. It doesn't cost you anything at all. I will help you by appointments. My office is located behind Love's gas station at the VFW, but I work for the DAV on the paperwork side of helping veterans do their paperwork. And our mission basically is to take care of the veterans and make sure that they get the benefits that they deserve. Whether you're a combat veteran or not, we're going to help you try to get those benefits. So
that was all the questions I have.
okay, well,
So,
All right, Brian. Well, thank you for your help today. We appreciate you. And
Well, thanks for the information and help in dumping this out. There's a lot of people, and I'm not going to put everybody in the same category as me, but I learned a lot from you and the research you did behind me just dropping off a bunch of paperwork, and you sifting through it and knowing what to go for and stuff. I'll tell anybody, I'll put your knowledge against anybody I've ever met talking about this stuff. So your help and assistance and dedication to this is much appreciated by everybody that I've talked to over at the VFW. So grateful for all of that one. So how frequently are these podcasts?
Okay, so we do a Guardian of Service podcast right now at least once a month. I think they're going to do a couple more times a month. And then like our VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, we meet the first Tuesday of each month at 6 o'clock at our VFW building behind Love's gas station. And our next meeting is actually September the 2nd at 6 o'clock. So if you served in a combat zone, then you're eligible to join the VFW. Whether it be Korea is still considered a combat zone.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, World War II. We have members of all of those combat zones in our post. So you are eligible to join if you served in a combat zone. That is one of the criteria of being in the VFW. You have to have served in a combat zone.
But you don't have to have served in a combat zone in order to get a hold of you, and you provide people with information.
That's right. So whether you served in a combat zone or not, we're going to help you try to get your VA benefits. You and your spouse. So make sure you let your spouse know about me and my phone number. So if you pass away, they know who to call, so I can help them try to get their DIC benefits and then their Champ VA benefits and possibly aid in attendance benefits.
Yeah, there's quite a few vets that are kind of cranky old folks that don't want to come and ask questions and stuff, but I would encourage them. It's definitely in their benefit. So.
Right, because you can make for 10% VA disability, and it goes up every 10% increments. Let me explain that real fast. So 10% is about $171 a month, but then it goes 20, 30, and 40, and then when you get from 90 to 100, it goes up $1,200. So it's $4,044 a month to be 100% VA disabled. So it's definitely worth checking into to see if it's something that you're eligible for, and it'll change your life. It truly will. It changed my life. That's why I help veterans for free, so I can help pay it forward and help other veterans.
And there's direct and indirect. You're talking about the money you get in the mailbox every month for the problem, but then there's the health care provided to address the problem and the issue. So
yeah, the health care and the prescriptions are free at the VA. There's all kinds of benefits to applying for the VA disability program through the VA.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your dedication to what you're doing and the people you're helping. Like I said, everybody on our side knows that you're the person to go to and talk to, that you're the one with the answers, or you'll find them. So appreciate your time and your help, and thank you for letting me ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay, no problem. And thank you for joining the Guardians of Service.